Yo, my king.
Hey, hey, what's up?
Good, bro. What's up? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Alright.
I,
So yeah,
yes,
what's up? So yeah, going back to what we were talking about now, this whole consent thing.
yes.
Um, no sexual assault, man, and consent. And what did you say? You said something. Tacit. What? Tacit consent.
Tacit consent.
What does
Um,
that even mean?
no, no. What it means is that for example, uh, let's say, for example, you. I'm not very sure about the details. But then it means, for example, let's say, for example, you are living with a woman in South Africa, and then you have been living with that woman continuously for some time. There is a time there is a time, for example, an amount of time that if, for example, you have exceeded that time, then the law will assume that you have tacitly married that woman. That, for example,
Yes.
you understand how that means.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the same thing happens with, for example, being a 16-year-old. If you are a 16-year-old child, remember that if you are below 18, you are actually in South Africa, you will be referred to as a minor if you are below 18. But then let's say, for example, your dad dies or something, and then or both your parents die, and then now you for example, you remain there with your two sisters, and then you with your two maybe little sisters, and then you'll have to play the role of a parent and all that, and then I think that also there's also an allowance for the law to consider you to tacitly consider you as an adult, because of that, meaning that the laws that, for example, would normally apply to you as a teenager because of the role that you've taken. I think it also applies somewhere in marriage, but then I'm not so sure about the details, but then at least you get the principle behind that. So the same thing happens. Apparently, the same thing that was the same thing that the same term that was brought into light with regards to rape, for example, whereby the great advocate said that. It's mentioned something about tacit consent, meaning that you did not necessarily say no, and then you also did not necessarily say yes, but then the actions which happened between the two of you indicate that you might have consent, you might have said yes, or yeah, you might have said yes. For example, let's say you start kissing, and then one thing leads to another. No one said no, no one said yes, but then because the two of you were in agreement in terms of kissing and everything, then we assume, okay, that's what happened there. Or that's a term that has not been there before, but then it's also a term that we should actually celebrate, that it's because it's sort of bringing some a little bit of sense in a way, that because at the end of the day, I want to believe that most of what happens between most of the interaction between a man and a woman, fella, that it's not like a big yes or a verbal yes or a verbal no. It's mostly just the vibes. I mean, people follow the vibes, you see. So that I think that we should actually be happy that that term is there, and then is being applied in law. Yeah.
So then that kind of then brings a bit of structure or a bit of um, non-gray. There's no gray area then when it comes to that. So it's like I might not say yes, but I might not say no, but my actions lead to believe that it's a yes. So therefore, then we take it as a yes. Or
Yeah.
if my actions are kind of pushing you away,
Yes.
and I didn't say no, then we can then concede that it's a no.
Exactly. Exactly.
So then that can then pretty much take away from this whole 10 or 5 years later or 10 years later thing of, hey, actually, I think that I was. It's like, no, what happened that day matters, not what you felt afterwards. What happened during that time matters.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it gives a responsibility to both parties, and they both responsible for both of their own bodies.
Yes, because remember, as I'm saying, the issue of consent before, for example, before that term came into play, the issue of consent was was one that women were happy to was one that most women were happy that it was gray, and especially most feminists were happy that it was gray. But here's what we need to understand. What we need to understand is that it was also trivializing women and then making women as if they are babies. And then it was reducing the agency of women into being babies, into being people that cannot actually know when they don't want something or know when they want something. So it was in fact it still is, it's actually it's demeaning to women, I believe. And a lot of laws that we have are actually very, very demeaning to women, but then they embrace them and then as favoring them. But then I do not think that, I think they're actually taking their agency. They're taking their agency. I was arguing with one lady on Facebook. We were talking
So,
about,
their accountability.
yes.
So it's their account. Okay.
Yes, yes. So it's making them, it's taking accountability from them, and then, which is sad, because I mean, even in the times of apartheid, we it was known that, for example, if the man was going to go and work in the mines, the woman used to be the mother remaining at home used to be the one who assumes the position of the man, the position of the man who was in the mine, meaning that she was the highest authority at home. And then it was that, so there was agency in that way. But then currently what they are doing is that they are reducing the role of a woman into being something that has to be decided by men or by courts. And for example, I mean, the role of a woman and the responsibilities of a woman into being something. If you can see, for example, even the issue of this issue, for example, of, okay, I was telling you that I was having an argument with one lady there. There's a post that I shared from you. You sent that, you posted that post, and then I shared. It was about a woman who was saying that she's not comfortable with 16-year-olds and then 15-year-olds being in the clubs, because this is not a place for 16-year-olds to be. And then this thing is going to actually put men, it is going to put men in danger, because now they might wake up one day and then find out that for example, they slept with a 16-year-old, because at the end of the day. And then she was saying that it's a man's responsibility to ask the woman's age. And then I accepted that, and then I also agree that it's a man's responsibility to ask the woman's age. But then at the end of the day, we have rights and then we have responsibilities. All of us have responsibilities, and then we cannot take, for example, the accountability from a woman and then just make that lie on the guy, and just put that, and just hang that on the guy and say, okay, it's the guy who must do this, it's the guy who must do this. Both these parties, in fact, all these parties, it's a responsibility of the man to make sure that the woman that he's about to sleep with is not below the age of 18. That's the first one, because if you don't do that, then you'll be guilty of what that will be statutory rape. And then it's also a responsibility of the club owner to make sure that the people who are entering his premises are people of the right age. And then it's also the responsibility of the child, of a teenager, to make sure that he does not go there. I mean, I even made an example that my 3-year-old knows that he does not come out of the house until the car engine has stopped, meaning that he cannot come out as long as the car is still, the engine is still running. It's one of those small rules that you make just so that you don't end up maybe driving on top of driving on your child. We are living in stressful times. You could be on the phone, you could be somewhere. So that is the rule that I mean, even a child, for example, knows that if you hold a burning candle, you are likely to get burnt. These are rules that are there, and then everyone, regardless of regardless of age, we all have responsibilities. If we want to build a proper functioning society, we all have to have responsibilities, and then we have to accept those responsibilities. And again, we also have to accept the consequences that come with ignoring those responsibilities. For example, if you, as a man, you forget to ask that the girl how old the girl is, and then you find out the girl is 17 and then is 16, you also have to accept the consequence of that you might end up in jail. And then you might end up in jail or arrested for statutory rape. And then the club owner also has to be aware of the fact that the club can get closed and then it can be out of business for allowing minors to get in the club. Even the minor herself needs to understand that going to that place is actually putting herself in danger. She may end up drugged or raped or even worse, maybe dead or something like that. So that was my argument, and then that still continues to be my argument. And then I do not approve, I do not agree, in fact, with any person that says, okay, it's only this one's responsibility, this one must not account. I don't think that we can build any proper society if we are to approach things that way. Everyone must take responsibility, and then as I've apportioned the responsibility that everyone, we have rights. We can go wherever we want to go. I myself, I have a right. I can go wherever I go, but then I know that there are certain places in this Joburg CBD that I cannot drive on or walk on. I'm aware of that, and I accept that. I accept the responsibility that I have to take in order to make sure that I don't put myself in such situations. It's said that it has to be like that. It's also said that women on the other side, they will say, for example, hey, I want to walk wherever I want to walk, and then with no consequences. That's dumb. And then I believe that people who say such things are very stupid, and then they are not aware of they are not embracing the realities of life. Rape and all other murder and all other crimes did not start yesterday or not start when we started knowing how to read. They've been there ever since humanity, ever since the beginning of humanity. And then for us to think that we can actually get to a point in time in life whereby we can just walk around whenever we want, then I would like to think that we would be very, very stupid to even believe that such can happen. Yes, we can control, we can reduce the levels of crime, and then we know, for example, that one of the greatest contributors of crime is not necessarily poverty, but then it's relative poverty. If, for example, you mix rich people with poor people, or you put them in close vicinity, you are likely to see crime. But then if you put poor people alone in one place without them seeing what's on the other side, then you are likely to have a very crimeless, not necessarily crimeless, but then a very manageable, a society with a very, very little crime. And then I'm sure, for example, there are places, for example, whereby there's not even water or electricity in South Africa. And then if you go to those places, you would see, for example, that the crimes are not that, it's not like the crimes are that high, because everyone knows everyone, and then they are all struggling. And then again, you can go to the best suburb in the city, and then you'd also find that again there's no crime, because everyone knows everyone. Everyone is a small community, it's an estate, everyone knows everyone. But then you take a place whereby the rich ones can show can show off their money to the poor ones, and then the poor one can then see the other one, then you know that you're likely to have problems there, because so we know that those are the risks, those are some of the, and then that's not new. It has always been like that. It's always going to be like that. And then just, so it's one of those things that to think that, for example, you can just walk wherever you walk, or to do whatever you do, and do whatever you do, and then not have the consequences. I think it's very, very dumb to think that. And then I don't think people should even entertain, or the law should even entertain that. But then you know that the politicians are very, very quick to jump on these things, because they get them votes. And then for example, if you say that I'm gonna stop, as we said before, if you say that I'm gonna stop GBV, I'm sure you're gonna get 10 more votes from women who think, oh, okay, you're on their side. Even if you're not necessarily on their side, you're just not gonna do anything.
Nice. So yeah, I agree with all of that. And I was actually about to ask you now that where do you think that the thought process even stems from? Right. So I was gonna, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you that where do you even think that the thought process even stems from, that people think that like that life will be the way that they want it to be. It's so mind-boggling to me to like, it's like, you know, when you have these debates and all these um uh conversations
Yeah.
and stuff, like especially something like rape, where someone would say, look, I was in the back, I was drunk with my girls, and I went and I stepped into the back seat of a car, and then this guy came, he wanted to take me home, and we went home together.
Yeah.
Then I woke up the next day and I don't remember what happened, and yeah, he probably raped me, and therefore he's at fault. It's like, okay, look, first of all, like, as much as it might be his fault, it's not only his fault. Like, you have to take some blame for even being there like that and not being able to take care of yourself. I don't understand where this like complete like blank like shield of, I can't be responsible, I will never be responsible, and that is the only thing, and the person is the only person that can be responsible. I don't know where that comes from. It's the same thing as like, as you know, the debate that's always going on about like, yeah, look, I'm walking down the road and I'm wearing a short skirt, or I'm wearing yogurt pants, and therefore men should stop looking at me because I feel uncomfortable. It's like, do you not take any responsibility for what you're doing? And we're not saying that it's not wrong for guys to look at you like that, or whether it's right or not. But it's like, how are you then exempt from anything that you're doing? Because in the same breath, if not the guys don't look at you, you turn around and say, oh, well, I don't know why guys are not looking at me, therefore I should dress a bit more sexy in public. And it's like, exactly, you know the reason, or you know the consequences of what you're doing. You know, so therefore you need to then be mindful of it, that it could happen. When you go to the club and you're drunk, a lot of things can happen. So when those things happen, yes, the people that do those things to you are wrong. But so are you. You're not exempt from that responsibility. You need to take blame for that. You need to take blame for the fact that it's even there.
They are going to come for you for saying this, because they are going to come for you for saying this, because especially if you're talking about the issue of clothes, for example. You know, every time for example, I face a difficult concept to sort of to dissect, I always reduce myself to I always reverse to biology, to before you put socialization, before you put all this other thing, before you put all this other nice terms, that I firstly reduce myself to an animal, to understand, okay, animalistically, how do human species interact animalistically? Like, if you put religion, put everything aside, First of all, if you are to do that, for example, you will discover that It is not wrong for men to look or to even turn if they see a woman who's half naked, and they are not wrong to do that. It is biology.
Just like it's not wrong the other way around. It's
Yeah,
not wrong for women to turn their heads and look at men when they're half naked.
totally not wrong. Again, it's also not wrong to feel aroused. Right? When you see an attractive woman, or you see, for example, nice legs, or whatever gets you aroused. It's also not wrong to feel aroused. It's biology. It means that your body is working. In fact, you should actually be very worried if you don't get aroused, even when you see an attractive woman. Well, unless you are not attracted to women, which is another case again. You see, but then if you are attracted to women, and then you see a beautiful woman, and then you don't feel aroused, nothing, no tingles, nothing, then you should you should be very worried about that, because that means that there could be something wrong with you. Maybe you need to go to men's health or something. You see, so now, but then now we are getting into the point whereby men are even shamed for that. And then now let me also go on with that explanation. Here is what's wrong. What's wrong is, as human beings, we have got emotions, and then if we cannot be able to control those emotions, I mean, for example, getting aroused when you see a beautiful woman is an emotion. It's a biological. It's biology. It's an emotion. You are going to have emotions, certain emotions. The problem comes when you can't control these emotions, because that's how rapists are born. That's how rapists become rapists, is because you get these people who cannot be able to control these emotions, and then from there, like, they they become impulsive, and then when they see, for example, what a beautiful woman, then they will want to then act impulsively, and then go and then maybe do all the sorts of things that they shouldn't do. You see, but then feeling aroused when you see a woman, it's not something that's wrong. It's not something that you should be ashamed of. You see, the problem comes when we as human beings now, when as people, no longer as human beings, but then as people now, because human beings, if you want to reduce them to animals, with animals, problem, I'm sure you know, when a lion wants to murder another lion, it will just go and then try to force itself its way in. Then that's the animalistic thing. But then now, if you go one step higher, then now you go one step higher into being people now. Into being people, not just human beings, but then into being people. That's where you will get to see, okay, now we exercise some control now, because at the end of the day, we are no longer animals. Now we have elevated into being people, meaning that we can no longer act on our impulse, and then we can also not we can now be in control of our emotions, and then we can delay gratification, and then we can also try to sacrifice, to bargain. We can try to bargain, or to invest. Even to invest, investing is also it's what investing, and then having sex, things like drinking, or storing food and all those things. Storing food and all those things are things that that will separate. I'm sure, for example, animals don't bargain. For example, you cannot go to an animal cannot go to another one and say, for example, hey, give me and a lion cannot kill another lion, and then from there, highness is that, no what, give me this meat that you just this springbok that you just killed now, and then tomorrow I'm gonna get you another. Animals don't do that, you see, but then people do that, and then that's what separates us from animals. That we can bargain, we can be able to trust each other that way. That say, okay, hold this, and then I'll hold this. Borrow me this piece of meat. Give me this piece of meat, and then I will give you the money tomorrow. And then you trust that that person is gonna do that. And then, but then with animals, I don't think that a lion can strike such a deal. That, okay, I won't eat now. I will eat tomorrow, and then you can
tomorrow.
Yeah, you see. So now that means now we have elevated to that. So that is where now we get what. That is where those that remain now, those that remain on the lower step, those are the people that become rapists. Those are the people that cannot be integrated into society. Those are people that become that have got too much violence that they even can't control themselves. But then the ones that are higher above can control themselves. Because why? Because they're not just animals, but then they're also people that they can make bargains and they can make bargains, and then they can also be able to delay their own gratification and then control their feelings, you see. Then that would be my explanation. But then now what we want, what worries me is that the law wants only men to be able to do what? Only men to be able to get to this level, meaning that the men should be able to control. Men should be able to control their emotions and do all those things and do all those things. But then on the other side, they say, no, women can do whatever they want on the other side. That means they can walk wherever they want to walk. They don't have to worry about what's going to happen. They have to do whatever they want to do and then walk wherever they want, and then wear whatever they want to wear. Yes, you can wear whatever you want to wear, but then you have to understand that there are people who are here, not here, who are rapists there, and then what are you going to do with them? And then, yes, as much as we can take those people to jail, but then there's new rapists every day that you probably don't know, or that they didn't even know themselves that they are rapists and stuff like that. So, but then at the end of the day, as a society and then as people, we have to do what? We have to try and create a society upon which we can have more people than animals. And then, because I mean, if we have got more animals than people, then we're going to have a problem, because now I don't think we would want to have a society that is dominated by rapists and stuff like. We want the rapists to be as few as possible. We cannot end rapists. I think that's also what women need to be aware of, that these people, they cannot go away. They will always continue to be there, because the issue of rape is very, very, very complicated. There's a lot. There's power part. There's the power part of it. There's also the intention part of it. There's also the recklessness and the animalistic part of it. So you cannot just go do away with all these people. And the goal is to make sure that we live in a controlled society whereby people cannot just do such things. And then also on the other side, you cannot also on the other side, everyone is accountable. And then if everyone is accountable, then we can build a better society, I believe.
So then in saying that, you basically then trying to also get to the point that everyone needs to be responsible for their own body, and they need to understand that.
Yes.
They need to understand that some people are not responsible for their own body and do not care for anyone else's body, and therefore that's more reason for you to then take care of your body, because there's always going to be people like that.
Exactly.
So then what is happening then is that then you have a lot of other people that understand that, but then say, look, well, just so that I can gain, I will then be on this side of the people that don't understand that. Even though I understand that these things actually matter, there'll always be rapists, there'll always be murderers, right? Because with anything else, it's like, we understand it. Like, whether you're a guy or a girl, don't walk into a dangerous neighborhood because you're gonna get robbed.
Yes.
You understand that?
Yes.
Right? So with anything else, it's like, don't leave your belongings out on the street because they're probably going to be taken. People don't rock up and then say, oh my gosh, like, I don't know why this happened. Why do people do this? People understand that people like that are alive, are around, and there are also those people. Yes. Right? And they can be those people in certain situations. That's why they can understand that other people can be like that.
Yes.
Now, I think that with rape, then the issue comes in there where it's like, there's this thought process that a female is unable to do that. And therefore, it's easier for females then to then say, wow, I can't understand someone else that's doing this because I'm unable to do that. Right?
Mm.
So you get to a point where, again, like I say, if someone else goes and robs or takes something from you, you understand that, because whether you're male or female, because there's certain situations where you felt like, oh, I like to take this, but I shouldn't. You understand that.
Yeah, So I think people.
So when it comes to rape, then, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think people people, here's one thing that we also forget to understand is that people, they work on reward and punishment, basis. That if they are rewarded for something, they are going to do it. They are going to keep doing it. If they are punished
Yes.
for something, they are going to stop doing it. And then if they, so now what is happening? What is happening is that people are not punished for lying, for example, and people are not punished for being reckless. And then there is there's a law that protects people from being punished for being reckless. And then there's also a law that protects people, that rewards people for being stupid. That is why, for example, you would have people, a 16-year-old having 16-year-old having 2 kids, or a 24-year-old having 6 kids. You see, that is stupidity. And not only this kids, for example, you will be having these kids with the bomb. Or you find that a boy will be having 16 babies, and then why? Because there is no punishment. And then, well, before things and then the laws were this modern, there was a time whereby, for example, things like, for example, a woman's womb and sex was so expensive that for you to be able to have that, you have to know that you have to pay lots of cows for you to be able to go and then tate umfaz and then say, okay, this is your wife. If you took someone's virginity, you were going to pay a lot of money for that. And then as a woman, you were going to be shamed for that. And then, so that was the punishment on both sides, that as a woman, you're going to be shamed. And then if that boy doesn't, for example, marry you, you're going to have problems going forward. Yeah, you're going to remain with the baby and then have problems going forward and forward with life. And then on the other side, with the boy, he knew what, okay, if he did something like that, the family of the girl was going to come and then demand that the boy pay the damages. So it was fair in such a way that because both parties understood that sex was not just about having fun. That through sex, that's how families come. That's a child could pop from that. It's not just about having fun. And then because this is not just about having fun, it has consequences. That if I give you my virginity and then you don't marry me, then I'm going to be ashamed in the community. Therefore, you have to do what? You have to marry me before I could give you that. And then again, even the boy knew that if I get you pregnant, then my family is going to have to pay. I'm going to have to pay for that. So there was reward and then there was punishment. And again, for protecting your virginity, for example, and getting married, there was also more lobola, and then because more lobola that would be paid for you. Because what? Because they are rewarding the fact that you have actually been resilient up to this far, and then held yourself up to a high standard up to this far. Therefore, you deserve a higher, like your family would actually deserve higher payment, a higher. I don't want to call it payment, but let me call it. Yeah. So now, if you look at that, you find that for every action there was a punishment and then there was a reward. There was just not an action that's just left there. So, but then currently, I can go out there and have 16 babies, and then there's no one, and then not even marry one of the mother. Not even marry one of those mothers, and then there's not even one person that's gonna come after me and say, okay, this is what. Even if they do, even if the Lord decides to come, if I say I don't have money, I said I don't have money, there's nothing that they can do, because they probably don't want to take me to jail. Well, maybe in other countries that they do, but then in South Africa, I've rarely seen any man that goes to jail for not paying child support. You see, instead the government decides to reward the women by paying them child support, which is rewarding stupidity, because these people became stupid. That's why they were in that point. So you are rewarding stupidity. You are not punishing. You are rewarding stupidity, and then you are not punishing stupidity at the end of the day. Then you get what? a degenerating society, because it's a lawless society. It's a society whereby everyone knows that they can do whatever they want, and then there's nothing that's going to happen. That's why we have, and then this thing trickles down from the top, from leadership downwards. You can see, for example, what's happening with the politics and with the politicians in the government, for example. They also know that you will not get punished for stealing money, which is stupidity again, and all that. So I think that's what happens, and then women are seeing that, and then they're also taking advantage of that, just as men are taking advantage of not being punished for having children, for example, with women, and then not looking after that. So even women are seeing, oh, okay, so I can just go there and then be stupid about this, and then the entire community will feel sorry for me. I'm not going to be shamed for being stupid and all that. So that is I think that's also the problem. That's where it comes from. If we got to a point whereby we would punish stupidity and then we reward good actions, then we would have better leaders, better leaders, and then better society, and then even better future, I think.
Nice. That was a lot, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a lot. But yeah, going back to this consent issue and this whole rape issue, I don't even know if people even know what rape means these days.
Yeah.
And what consent means. And it's almost like we always kind of, whoever wants to benefit from it goes onto one side of the platform,
yeah,
and then feeds whatever they need to feed on the one side of the platform, regardless of whether they believe it or not, just so that they can get those people around for them, and then change the laws according to that, and then disappear and say, okay, perfect, I've got the people that I need on my side, and that's it.
Yeah.
And again, it's like I was saying, that it's like as soon as you can understand that you can perform, you can do something that someone else can do as well, right? Then you then understand why you shouldn't do it or why you should do it, right? So again, like going back to stealing, it's like you understand that there's an urge for stealing. You understand what stealing is, right? So that everyone understands what stealing is. So therefore, now people are less likely to then act badly when the stealing happens. It's like, oh man, I was dumb. You about to take, you do take part of that responsibility. That, you know what, I can't believe that I drove to Central CBD Joburg at this time of the day because now I got robbed. It's like, okay, fine, fair enough. The guy that robbed you, you go and or the person that robbed you, you can go and open a case against them. But you also know that, man, shit, I shouldn't go down that road again, right? So now with sex, though, and with sexual harassment and things like that, it's like we completely divorced women into actually taking responsibility. It's like the more any sexual act happens, it's like women cannot perform that. They cannot do that. So therefore now it's like you have a certain society, we have society whereby because that happens, then women just say, well, look, I don't understand why men rape. Right? I don't understand why certain men rape or have certain urges. Right? And it's like, how do you not understand that? And it's like, yeah, because, I mean, like, no one's defined it to us. We don't do that. And then the more you then open up people's eyes, especially women, you open up their eyes to, well, look, if you can say that if a guy sleeps with you and you're intoxicated as the woman, that he's raped you, then that means that if you both go out and have a drink and you're intoxicated and he's intoxicated, you're just as responsible for the rape as a woman.
Yeah, because speaking of that, because I think that's also one of the questions that I was asked one of the anti-rape activists was that, okay, what happens if two people are drunk? Who's now, if two people are drunk and then they end up having sex, and then we find out that the other one reports, then who's guilty of rape there? Are they both guilty, or are they not both guilty, or is the woman guilty, or and then it trickled down to what it trickled down to a matter of weakness, that, or okay, the woman could have been weak, so So then that means it's probably going to be the man and all that, which is very, very unfair, because alcohol is alcohol is a great equalizer, meaning that it makes both people weak in such a way that you can. It's actually one of the conversations where people would say, for example, I'm sure you also have heard that, of people saying that you don't know a person you don't know a person's character until they are drunk, which is quite stupid to say that, because I mean, I'm sober 90% of the day, and then you wanna judge my character by one. But I'm sober 90% of my life, and I'm only drunk 10%, and then you wanna judge my character by what happens in that 10%. That's not fair, you see. And at that time, I'm not operating on sober mind. I'm operating on drunk mind. So you cannot tell me then that this is me, you see. So even the same thing applies again to rape, that you cannot say that this one is guilty and then this one is not guilty. And then how can you say, if the person is, if it's there that the person was drunk, then the only thing that he should be guilty of, maybe is guilty of drinking. I don't know why, if there's any, or drinking and driving or whatever. But then we cannot say that one was guilty and then the other one was not, if both they were not operating on sober mind.
Even with that, it cracks up under pressure, because it's like, okay, you can say that, oh well, look, if the guy and the girl is drunk, and therefore the guy is more powerful than the woman, therefore the woman got raped, yeah. Right? So you alter the definition of it. It's like, no. So you first go, look, if you're intoxicated, you can't give consent. If you can't give consent, then you're raped. It's like, okay. So what happens if a guy and a girl are both drunk? Oh well, are they both raping each other? Well, actually, no, that makes sense. No, the thing is, that doesn't work, because if they're both drunk, then it's more likely that the guy is going to overpower the girl. So therefore, the girl is going to be drunk.
And what
so
about
you build?
And a guy,
the girl's going to be raped.
And a guy.
Yeah. So then, what happens in a lesbian relationship? What happens in a gay relationship? Yeah. What happens then? What are you going to say? Nothing. Yeah. Because now all of a sudden you understand that because the big, it's what I'm saying again, the big picture is, by any means necessary, the woman cannot do anything wrong.
And then that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is, because it's. Yes. I understand, as a person, as an adult man now, I understand why there is so much need for women, for men, for example, for us to try and not find women guilty, or to try and assume and then put and like a God complex on women, or angel, whatever you can call it, that they are not supposed to be. I understand, because at the end of the day, we spend most of the time with our mothers, and then they are sweet, they are soft, and then there are all these nice things that men are not. Men on the other side they're
aggressive.
They're full of beard, and then again you check in the leaders there, okay, it's only men that appear in the list of dictators and bad guys and all that, you see. But then one of the things that is a huge sign of maturity as a man, and then as a woman as well, it's knowing that your mother is not a saint, that you need to hear your dad's side as much as you listen to your mother's side. You see, you cannot get until you get to that point, you actually have not matured. You have not been a full human being. You have to understand that even your mother is not an angel. She's not fault free. She might have been vindictive at some point, and then she might have even cheated on your dad on some point, and then you don't know that.
Manipulative.
Yes. Yes, and all that. So these are the things that are very, very sad to even talk about. I personally would not like to think of my mother as a bad person. But then because I'm a grown up now, I'm aware of the fact that it could have been the case, and then that does not mean that I think of her less, or I don't respect her, or I will love her less. I will still love her because she's my mother, but then I have to admit the fact that she's also not fault free. She's a human just like any other human being, and then also she should also, if she had to appear in court, she has to be questioned just in the same way that a man has to be questioned. That's why, for example, you will hear a lot of women complaining. You remember the case of Cheryl Zondi or something, whereby she also
when they put her on the stand and then they cross-questioned her.
yes, and then she instantly became a star, and then she was all over the profile picture of every woman and all that. And I was looking, I was like, okay, we've actually reached the clown level, like the clown level 10 or something, because what they were saying that the prosecutor should not have asked the questions that she should not have asked the questions that she asked to the lady, to the lady, which is Cheryl Zondi. Cheryl Zondi. You see that she was making her relive the trauma and all that. You see. But then the question is, how else would the guy know the truth if he does not have to ask, if he can't ask questions?
That's when you say believe the woman. And then you have a case like Oscar Pistorius where he was crying on the stand and everyone was saying, ask him more, ask him more.
Yes.
And he killed someone, he killed his girlfriend, wife, whatever. And then it's ask him more. Even if he's crying, wake up tomorrow, ask him more.
Yes.
And it's like, how is this? How is that possible to say that to one thing and the other thing you say, no, she's probably traumatized. I mean, we support her. It's like, whoa, how? Like, of course, like we support both people if they're innocent.
Yes.
But the only way to know if they're innocent is if you cross-question and you absolutely annihilate what they have,
yes,
or whatever story they have. And then if you can't do that, then you say, well, you know what? I can trust you. But if there's any hole that's in there, it's like, well, you could be lying. So what else are you supposed to do then? Like just convict the other person? How do you know that he's not telling the truth?
Yes.
Just because this person is not, you can't prove that this person is lying or not. How do you know that the other person is not telling the truth?
Yes.
So cross-question him rather.
So it's stupidity, and then we are legalizing it, and we shouldn't. We are legalizing it because we are under pressure. Because at the end of the day, women form a majority of everything. They are majority of the voters. They are the majority of the people who are accepted to take the vaccines. They are the majority in the people who have already taken the vaccine. They are the majority in the churches. They are the majority in terms of spending. They control over if not 80, I don't know how much percentage of the household spending. So these are very, very necessary people and important people in the economy, and then that's why everyone wants to pamper them, because they get the economy drive. They have got a spending power, and then because of the spending power, then they can create all. Everyone wants to fall for them, which is understandable. I'm sure even if you wanted votes as well, you'd also want to make sure that you don't please those who are going to be giving you votes. So that is the sad part of it. But I hope that at some point that insanity will go away, and then people will come back to their senses and understand that no one is above the law, and then no one should have a special consideration as far as questioning is concerned, because people should be asked questions, and then regardless of whether they can cry the following day, they must be okay. And then
answer the question.
If a psychologist has to be there to try to try to soften the questions, and maybe that's what they should consider. They should consider a therapist or someone, a person who can now soften the questions and then translate the same question as it is, because then the answer must come out and then the question must start. You see, yes, maybe if they have to say, okay, we are going to now bring a psychologist or a what, I don't know what a diploma, I don't know what you have to call that position, a person who would listen to the question as the prosecutor is asking, and then listen to that question, digest it, translate it without losing meaning to the woman. Is the question.
Which is exactly what the well, that's what the judge does already.
Exactly.
He just makes sure that the questions are fair. So
exactly.
How much more fair can it be? You have to expand the languages.
So they shouldn't be crying. They shouldn't be crying. And then I'm sure right now that guy, the Omotoso guy, is probably gonna rot in jail just because people are now scared of asking the right questions to the woman, which is very, very
Yeah, yeah. I think also the one thing that for me is very scary is the fact that a lot of women get taught these things that they're incapable of hurt. They're incapable of negativity. They're incapable of the same exact things that men are capable of.
Yes.
And you live like that. You live like that for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And then as you get older and you start to have families, then guys sit back and they say, look, I'm not gonna we discussed this, right? We know what the truth is.
Yeah.
But we know how we're going to then take it out. We know how we're going to then try to pamper the truth so that then the other person takes it nicely. But deep down, when it comes to you and you actually forming your own family and your own careers, you're not going to want someone that you're going to have to pamper all the time.
Yes.
So what happens is then when they get to their 30s and their 40s, less and less men are just like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'd rather go with someone that understands what's going on and knows what the truth is, and that's the way it is. So you find that a lot of feminists, when their whole fight in their 20s and their 30s, and they're up in varsities and up at schools, and they're getting high positions in all these jobs, because people don't want to hurt their feelings and they don't want to tell them the truth, because telling them the truth might then mean that you're going to get canceled, or might mean that you're going to be a misogynist. As soon as you speak against something, you're racist or you're misogynist. And it's like, well, what about the truth of the actual thing that I'm saying? It's like, no, it doesn't matter. We don't care about the truth. We care about the fact that we can label you. It's like, okay. And then you get to your 35s and your 40s and your 45s. And then you have a bunch of men that they're going to say, look, no, I'm not going to start a family with someone like that. Or even if I am, I'm not going to start a family with that actual person. I'm going to start a family with whatever the person has, or whatever the person can bring to the situation besides themselves. Because what else am I going to do? And then those people end up in their 40s and they just become broken telephones, and they try to then go back and take the youth again and try to then say, no, steer this way. And then the youth then also, again, the female youth then get strayed away. And then they go into the exact same, traps that these women then felt. And then they get to 35 and then they get to 40 and they ask themselves, well, why don't I have a man? It's like, well, because you actually don't deserve one. And also, perhaps maybe you're a 4 out of 10. What guy would want a 4 out of 10 if there's a 7? And no one's ever told you that you're a 4 out of 10, because everyone wanted to pamper you. Because if you weren't pampered, then you would throw a fit, and then it would not be a good thing for that person. So they just told you what you wanted to hear. But now that you're 35 and 40, no one's going to say, oh, okay, well, yeah, let me be with you. Because truth, deep down, they don't feel that way. So you've been lied to your whole life. And then when you get to the important stages, boom, you end up alone and you ask yourself these questions. And then still people are going to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not gonna explain to you anything because I'm afraid of this and I'm afraid of that. And then you go and you say, but then why is this girl getting married? Why is this girl have a boyfriend? Why is this girl getting invited to things? It's like because she actually listens. She actually understands the truth. She doesn't take it to heart. And whatever, even if it's negative, she then puts whatever thought process that she has on the table, and then we can discuss it. But you, on the other hand, you're not fun to play with. So why would anyone play with you? And you end up 35, 40 resentful.
You know the sad part, that the sad part about what you just said is that I've seen a lot. I've now starting to see a lot of women over the age of 35, of 35 to 40, discouraging men from dating younger women.
Yeah, because they want them for themselves.
Yeah, and then that is envy. That is envy because I mean you are 10 years senior to this person as a woman, and then for you to then you had, that means you had a 10-year head start before this person was born.
Mm-hmm.
You would have taken the very same guy that you say should not be taken, to be taken. So I've noticed that there's a huge, for example, if you can check, for example, there's a huge movement of discouraging men from dating younger women. For example, find that, for example, Izoti, when you are dating, when you are, let's say, 28, and then dating at a 23-year-old, and then they would be saying, no, this is wrong, you should not do that, should dating Tangazak. If I date in Tangazam, if I'm 35 and then I date in Tangayam at 35, the relationship is almost on a dead end, because if, let's say, I want to have 5 or 6 kids, this person can only safely give me one child, and then even after that one child, she's probably not gonna want to be a pregnant mommy at age 40. I don't think most women would be happy with that either. I mean, raising children takes a lot from women as well, and something that women as well also understand very well, that this thing is a very, it's natural. It's a natural process, and then it's a process, well, but then it also takes a lot from women, you see. So now you look at that, and then you look also at the possibility of starting a family. And then the other thing is that when you meet a woman who's 35, there is no, to be honest, guys, there is really no magic in dating a 35-year-old woman. There's nothing. The life has been sucked out there. I can tell you for sure. It's sad that I'm saying it. But then there's really no magic in dating a 35-year-old woman. There's nothing new that you will do that she has not seen. And there's nothing wow that you will do that she has not already seen. And in most cases, you find that they would actually try to mimic youth. They will try to mimic, to act surprised, or to mimic you, or to mimic femininity. I don't know if you've noticed that, for example, whereby you are dealing with a woman who was a bulldog in her 20s, and then now she's 35, and then she's now this feminine. No, it's not real. She's not feminine. You cannot switch on and off femininity. She's mimicking femininity. It's like she's just wearing that skin after you get hooked up, and then she's just going to remove that skin and then be what she used to be because that's all she knows, you see. But then if you are dealing, for example, with a woman, because at the end of the day, if you are dealing with most 35, you will find that the relationship is almost tailor-made to corner you into marriage as soon as possible, you see, so that you can just get locked up, and then once you are up, then you start seeing a different person. But then when dealing with younger women, you likely have to be the one persuading them into marriage, for example, because it's not urgent for them. And then also at those early ages, they are also teachable, meaning that it becomes easy for you to actually adjust your life to them, and then also become easy for them to adjust their life to you. And then also there's also
malleable.
Yes. And also the relationship is you can still have more. You can still have a big family when going forward. But then having a 35-year-old, it's really difficult, and it's not something. I'm sure a lot of guys would say that. Well, women would deny it, but then a lot of guys have dated women who are maybe their age or older, and then you guys, I'm probably sure you know what I'm talking about.
Definitely, a bit too much, a bit too well.
Yeah, you have had your fair share. Yeah, so it's
a bit too well.
It's very sad. It's very sad. I think also the problem that I have again with that's why I always troll them every time, all the time, the feminists, is that they have trivialized the importance of family so much that they don't understand that life itself is about people. Life is not about things. Life is about people. It's about families. It's about life. That's basically what it's about. If you stop prioritizing family, then I can tell you, in 100 years, or in 100 or 200 years, then you will face extinction. If you tell women, for example, that they should forego, if you tell women that they should go for, they should focus on their career and then forego starting families, and then until they reach a certain age, for example, let's say they do that, because remember, an average intern in South Africa currently is at 23. It's already at 23, and then at 23, starting from the time where you were actually a woman, not legally a woman, but then where you were actually at the age of giving birth, meaning from the time you had your first period, and then from the time you are actually an intern, you're biologically, you've already lost almost 4 to 8 years of starting a family. And then now you're going to start work at age 23. And then after you start work at age 23, you cannot also get married immediately after that, because you still have to get some money, and then get some money. You can't start a family at the time. By the time you are still thinking of starting a family, you're already at around 28, 25, 28, 29 or something, around the time. And then also you still owe yourself some hot girl summer, meaning that you still want to go and then sleep with this one, sleep with this one, sleep with this one. And we will gladly accept that. I mean, it's free pussy for me. I mean, what? So
as long as there's consent.
Yes, as long as there's consent, by the way, yeah, we must not forget that one.
Don't forget that. Even though we don't know what consent is, but as long as there's that.
Yeah, even if it's gray, but then fine, we'll find it somewhere there.
Yeah, let it be gray.
Yeah, so you get to that, they get to that age whereby now everything has to happen as soon as possible. And then I feel very, very, very sorry, because this is unfair, because because this is unfair, because they are trying to, remember, at this point in time, they're actually giving up their youth so that they can be men and compete with men who are not giving up anything, because men can play the long game when it comes, as far as this is concerned. They can. So basically, because of that, then they have to either tie their tubes, be on contraceptives, so that the baby does not interfere with their career, go and then do whatever articles that they have to do all those things, and then after they are done, and then by the time they are done, they are already in their late 20s. And then by the time they're in their late 20s, a man in his late 20s is still like a boy. He can still run around and do whatever he wants to do. So that is the unfair part of nature, I think. And then also the raw deal that they've signed with feminism and all that. I also tell them, for example, that my mother is a housewife, was a housewife. I'm starting to see right now. I used to think that I used to look at my parents as poor, because my mother didn't go to work. She was a housewife, and then my dad was a small time farmer, local farmer, you see. So I used to think that I used to think that they were poor. I'm only starting to realize now that these people were actually rich, that my mother was actually privileged to actually afford to be a housewife, because currently a woman that is that is working right now can never get to that position, because even the amount of rich men that are there, there are so few that you would actually to be 20 to 1 or even 200 to 1. So they would actually never get to be housewives. So meaning that they're actually slaves, because they have to work until they die, until they are 60 or 65, which is a luxury. Basically, right now, being a housewife is a luxury that modern women cannot afford. And then it's sad, because this is going to be their life. And then there's also debt again, that they are probably owing the bond and then they also still have to pay for the car and everything, and then they also owe university banks and then the government for funding them in order to get a PhD in women's studies. I mean, what's stupid is that that's not even, that's not even a real degree, but then they pay a lot of money to just get that PhD, and then from there they will say PhD cultural studies. I mean, sorry for everyone that has got a degree in cultural studies, but then that's a stupid degree. You don't need it. You really don't need it. I can tell you for sure. You are just paying you don't need it.
For sure. And you know, that's the reason why a lot of people migrate to overseas, especially when they're families. Because
Yes,
then at least you get paid more, and then one person can then work, and then the other person can stay at home. Because staying at home is a luxury.
yes,
So that's why a lot of people migrate overseas because of things like that.
yes,
And because if you stay in your own country, you're both going to work and you're both going to then, your salaries would just be enough to take care of one household, let
yes,
alone children.
yes. Because
Exactly. And
yeah,
then you have, and
because
then you have feminists that are fighting for this gender pay gap and to get to CEO positions, as if getting to CEO positions requires you to just be a female or to just be a male without any work, without any effort.
yes, because right
It's an
now,
insult. It's an insult to every other woman, in fact.
yes, because
But they don't need to work to get to the position that they need to get to.
yeah. And then the funny thing is that women who have worked hard to be in the positions that they are in, they feel very
Have
offended. They
sacrificed.
feel very offended by
Yes.
feminism. They're like, okay, you
Yes.
are disrespecting me. I broke my back. I actually sacrificed not having a family in order to be here. I had
Yeah.
sleepless nights, and then when you want to be here because you are a woman.
Imagine.
You see, so I'm sure, for example, Oprah would be very, very offended if one woman could tell her, or no, she should be go there, or one woman could tell her, or nah, she wants to be Oprah just because she's a woman. She worked hard to be where she is.
Imagine.
I think
Imagine.
that's also one of the things that we don't discuss a lot about. We don't talk a lot about women who actually work hard, who actually put effort. I mean, look at. I'm not a fan of Beyonce, but then I recognize the hard work that she puts. That woman is a hard worker. She works very hard.
Mm,
You see, and then
mm.
for another woman to just want to be there just because she's a woman, I'm sure she would feel very offended because of. I mean, are you ignoring the hard work that I'm putting here? The
Yeah.
going to gym, being fit, and then doing this, practicing and practicing. And
Serena Williams, possibly the greatest tennis player of all time.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Work
see,
hard.
she
Get
was
more titles than Roger Federer.
exactly,
Yeah, Roger Federer, Djokovic, all of them.
yes,
Working hard, having a baby, wake up, go to Wimbledon the next year, win Wimbledon.
yes,
Like imagine that.
yes,
Working hard.
yes,
And they're not saying, oh no, I'm being oppressed by males. Like,
yes,
no,
yes,
I'm actually the one that's defeating everyone. And
yes,
that's the way it should be.
yes.
Yeah.
And then those that are like that, you would never hear them complaining about men being what. It's always these ones that don't want to do anything, that want to be CEOs in companies that they never formed.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna make a point again about all the women that are again like put in a little box and then said, okay, no, you can do no wrong, you can do no wrong. You're 10 now, and
Yeah,
then you're 20, you can do no. And then when they get to like their late 20s and their early 30s, they dominate um, call centers.
yeah,
And then they realize that now all of a sudden I've left with a few children, or no, not even a few children, but I'm left single, and no guy actually wants to ever start a real family with me, and I need to take care of myself. So now I need to go and work like crazy at a call center, and
yeah,
also work like crazy at school, and then work like crazy trying to get a degree
yeah,
and make it in life before I reach a certain age.
yeah,
And then you have a bunch of men that say, look, good for you, man. Like you were a feminist back then. I'll do what I have to do now to be with you. Otherwise, I don't need to be with you now. I'll sort out my life later.
yeah,
And then, boom, you end up at 35 and you're still trying to hustle and you're still trying to fight the patriarchy and you're still trying to, to fight, you're still trying to fight men and you're resentful and you're trying to fight your own demons. And guys just chill and say, look, I'll just wait for the next person that's going to be available and going to be mindful and going to be driven and not complain and learn myself and learn herself and then make it together. And then those people then boom and they meet each other and they become, they get into families and they understand that the families are going to fight, but then they're going to fight for the relationship as well. And then they form each other and they're gone. And then all you get is even more bitter as the older that these women get, because then they're like, how did that happen? Like, why not me? Why not me? And it's like, well, how about you ask yourself that?
Yeah, because I think the sad part again, these people have been sold many lies. They've been sold the story of a boss ass bitch, and then they've also been sold the story of prosperity. The churches are doing that. They're teaching. They're telling them that you can be anything. You can be a boss ass bitch. You can be this rich, and then you can be a millionaire if you want. That's a fucking lie. For the most people, we're just going to be average people. We are not going to be rich. We are not going to be poor. We're just going to be average people. You see, very, very, very few people are going to actually be. Very, very people are actually going to be billionaires. I mean, even as we are speaking now, what makes you think things are gonna change? As we are speaking now, there's like, I'm sure the number of billionaires in the world, they are not that. They are like 1% of the entire world population. It's not going to change. It's going to be like that. And then you get people that always believe, okay, they can have actually enough money to sustain life even after work, which is quite stupid, because I mean, governments are going broke. Governments are going broke. They don't have money we just have to accept.
They don't have money because you don't have money, and the money that they have is your money.
Yes, the money that they have is mine, and then I don't have money. I have debt. But they're in debt as well. I think that's
so where do you think they will get money if you don't have money?
That's the problem. So they're not told this truth. And then what does that mean? It means that people are going to have to pair up. You cannot be a 50-year-old woman living alone. It's dangerous. And then the things that also people are not told, that once you turn a certain age, it's almost as if you become a magnet for every disease or allergy that is out there. And you have 6 back pains, you will have 6 different back pain spots at once. And then you have got high blood. You have got high blood on the other side. On another side, you have got whatever cancer or anything. These things don't happen on TV, guys. They are happening in real life. This is the reality. Is not.
I live that life every day, boy.
Yes, and then you are like, okay, who do you live with? And then the person says, no, I'm not married. I live alone. No. The thing is that, guys, marriage is not you know what, Lou, marriage is not it's not an option. I think that's what people need to understand. For both men and women, it's not really an option. Well, we can it does not have to be married. Let me call it cohabitation. It's not an option. It's something that we would all need at some point. You will need someone to help you, or to help pass you to help remind you where you placed it. Your autism, what are those diseases whereby people forget whether it's Thursday or Wednesday today? You will need people who will remind you, okay, no, actually it's Thursday today, you must do this. And then you also need, so these are realities. And the things that a lot of women have been told, that they are immune to these things, that these things won't happen to them, that they will forever be healthy and stuff like that. And which is very, very.
No such thing as dementia. No one will ever get dementia.
Yes. Yeah. Is that one? Is this whereby you forget whether it's Tuesday today or it's Wednesday.
You forget whether you're a feminist or not.
Yes. Yes. So they forget that these things happen. That's why it's important to have it's important to pair up to pair up and then build families and solid families. By solid families I mean families whereby and then again also on the men on the other side, they will also have to accept the leadership of actually being of leading good families, good, strong, nuclear and extended families, because you're gonna need those. You are gonna need that, and then you're not gonna need just one child. You're going to have at least. I know that we have got poverty and all that, and then there's also this lie that is being perpetuated as well in the media that Africa is overpopulated. No, Africa is not. Africa is severely underpopulated. It's just that it's populated by stupid. Just that stupid people are allowed to make babies, to make as many babies as possible. So now you get to a point whereby we think that people are populated. No, they're not populated. It's just that there are more stupid people. That's the problem. And then if you actually encourage the people who are not stupid to make more babies, and then that's when you will actually get. But then Africa is severely underpopulated in comparison with other continents. I mean, if you have driven around these countries like Malawi, Maputo, even some parts of South Africa, you drive in some parts and then see that you can drive for hours and not see even a single house and all that.
Not even a single dog.
Yeah. So, in terms
not even a single feminist.
Yeah, not even a single feminist. You won't see even a single feminist. And no, but then the nice thing is that you will never see a gogo who's a feminist, because no gogo is a feminist. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just hoping that people can understand that the institution of marriage is not a yesterday's institution. It's as old as humanity, and then it has been there for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And then you cannot just erase it just because you have got a degree, a Bachelor of Arts in media studies, and then you have got a PhD in men studies or in gender dynamics. No one gives a shit about
gender sociology.
Yes. Yeah. So they just need to understand that no one cares about that. You see, and then of the day, you know what? When COVID started, it exposed us. There were essential workers and non-essential workers, and people lost their jobs because their jobs were not important. And then they're also.
That's when the truth comes in.
Yes.
Yeah, that's yeah. People are like tea bags. They only show their true color. Put them in hot water.
Yes. And then a lot. That's why a lot of nudes started popping out. Or like, I have not seen this woman in a long time. Now she's sending me a picture of her naked. Or, oh, this one, I thought this. And then from there, there's a little fee there. There's a little fee placed there. Ray, you know what? If you can just buy me just 10 rands a time, I can send you more news.
All the prices have dropped.
and then you get stories like in Zimbabwe, whereby, for example, you heard stories that some of the prostitutes during that time, they were accepting beans and meal as a form of payment. Like, you could go there with a bucket of beans and maybe some flour there and say, here is it. Yes, please give me
on credit.
Yeah,
on credit.
No, yeah, or on credit. You say, okay, I'm going to harvest tomorrow, or I've slaughtered a sheep. Here's a sheep. I'm gonna give you a leg there, but then I want 2 hot ones. You see, so these are the realities of life, and then I think these things are not said enough. That's why a lot of people waste their time, accumulate a huge amounts of debt studying PhD in women's studies.
Stop saying that.
I mean, what are you gonna do with the PhD?
But look, look, I think even when you like stuff like that are created so that then you can then do that. You can then take all these people, these women or men, and then put binocular or put blinders around them and then say, we're going this way, we're going this way, you're going this way. And then you're just going the opposite way, getting higher and higher in your institution and in your field, and then you're just taking these all the way far left or far right. You take the men that way, you take the females that way, you take black people that way, you take white people this way, and you're just going higher and higher. Donald Trump is an example. Just take everyone everywhere else, you just go higher. Same with some of the politicians that we have as well. Well, let's take black people or non-white people that way, and then we go higher. Then once we're high, then it's too late for them to realize, and then they have to then fraction themselves. And someone else takes us and says, "Oh no, look, I'm a big body positivity activist about talking about how everyone is going to be affected by body positivity. And I get rich, and then these people go sway, and then they start dying, and then they start getting diabetes, and they realize, well, wait, actually, it's not good to be big here." And it's like, oh, well, who's the first person that told us that? Oh, it doesn't matter. They're too high up now. And then they get taken over by someone else that says, oh, look, Black Lives Matter, guys, come on. And then Black Lives Matter. Then they get higher, and then you just stray. And then that's what happens. So women's studies has a part in that, and all these other degrees has a part in that.
Terrible. Because in all honesty, I think we have forgotten the purpose of education. The purpose of education is not to have titles or to have ego or ego boosting titles. And the purpose of education is also to help us learn how to solve the problems of the problems. You see, at the end of the day, everything is about. At the end of the day, we are being educated in order to improve our lives, and then to solve the problems that we have in our lives. And then to improve our lives means that we have to solve problems. We don't go there to go and create problems. We don't go there to study to create problems, even if we do so. But then we do so with the intention to improve. That should be the goal. At the end of the day, we should actually we work so that we study, and then we learn skills so that we can be able to solve problems. You see, so if you go to school and then you pay huge amounts of money on something on getting a degree that won't help you solve problems, then you have just wasted money, because you are still useless at the end of the day. I mean, if you can't solve problems, you are useless. And as I'm saying, for example, with women's studies, whose problem are you going to solve with women's studies? Because women have been women. There are women who have been more women than you have learned to be a professor, a PhD in women's studies, to have a PhD in women's studies. So those are things that I feel like people are just wasting time. And then it's always women in universities who are busy taking up these courses that mean nothing. That these courses that don't help them solve any problems. You see, and instead they create more problems instead, because now they will start a movement, start these movements and everything, call other people to come and then cry together, and then from there they complain, and then becomes a huge problem.
Yeah. It's the humanities, eh?
Yes, and then everyone can get it's PhD galore. Everyone can get it as long as you have got money. Then you don't stop paying your fees. You see, and then I'm not sure if they are aware that men are not doing that. You know, men right now, I've seen a huge rise in I mean, I'm in the construction industry. I've seen a huge decline in men going to university, for example, to even get university degrees, construction university degrees or engineering degrees. They are now going the apprenticeship, the what you call the vocational, where they go to those schools, skills training, whereby they will actually go and learn how to be a plumber, and then learn how to be a carpenter, learn how to do tiling, how to they are now learning those skills. And then I'm also looking at how the women with these PhDs in women studies and in women studies and what else, gender studies, are looking down at these men, and yet these are their future husbands. These are the people that are going to take them out of poverty, because I mean, no one is going to hire you for, no one is going to take you serious if you have got a PhD in gender studies, to be honest.
Like there was this. I'm still waiting for it, but this what do you call it?
Mm.
This life is a social construct. People.
But life is a social construct.
Gender is a social construct. Time is a social construct. It's like wow, man. Like
That's the nonsense that they are learning there, and then it's bringing more problems, and then it's perpetuating more stupidity, and then they get the PhD for it. So if
yeah.
right now, even the title of a PhD, well, at the time when I started going to university and then everything, the title of PhD was such an on not honorary but honorable title, in such a way that you know that this person has toiled in order to become to be a PhD. But then right now, and then it was also, there was also a huge at the time, there was also a huge I remember when I was in it was 2012, I think. There was a professor in Japan who was I think they stripped him of his PhD or something, and then took his job, and because apparently he had faked or something. So there were still those checks that were done to make sure that people are not just walking around here saying that they've got PhDs. But then I can tell you now, even if you say that, you can say that and you will get more pun than a toilet seat. You can just say that you have got a PhD, put a PhD on your name there. You'll get more pun than they will all flock to you. and then not even one person is going to question that, because people are aware of how easy it is now to get these things. Everyone is there floating with a red gown for studying women. so
Oh
no, it's well. I will have to apologize to people who have the real PhDs, not this.
oh, the ones that have real ones.
I'm sure. I hope that I'm not offending those ones. Then the other ones can.
Oh, the ones that have the real ones.
Yeah, the real ones. Then those ones, I respect them. But then the ones that have got gender ones, those ones, I don't. They can come for me. I'm fine. so yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So gender studies and what? Women studies, sociology.
Yeah, it's women studies, it's sociology, and all those other. There's plenty of them, and then I also. No, it's terrible. And there's new ones coming. You can create your own. You can just decide. Okay, you want to study what? You want to study the impact of. I was there's this other time whereby I saw. I think what you wanted to study the impact of learning, the impact of not using home language for learning and all that, of not using home language. While it may sound nice that someone is trying to probe into culture and then see why, but then the fact of the matter is that who gives a shit? At the end of the day, at the end of the day, we do what we know. Right now, English is the language of the day. Do you think that I think people don't understand the fact that of how fluid languages are, and then how obsolete languages get after some time. Probably there's going to be a time whereby even English itself is phased out, and then there's a new language in town, and then that people have to have to learn, and then yeah, because remember, there was a before English, there was a time whereby Greek language, for example, was like the Greek language was like the English of today. You see, it was a language that was that was spoken and then learned by people who were of high of higher class in meritocracy, and then from there the Romans came and also they enforced theirs again, and then that's why we have the Roman alphabets that we have now. And then what we are complaining about now as people is what the English people of the time were complaining about when they had to speak Latin, and then when they had to actually use them. So it's not new. What is happening is not new, and then trying to reverse it is just stupid. We should just, if we say, okay, this is language, English is the language of the day, teach your children English so that they can actually have an advantage over others, and then you continue forward, instead of trying to trace back languages that are just going to die anyway, because no one reads them, no one writes them. You see.
Oof. Wow, boy.
I don't fight development. If development is there, I develop. I don't have time to be going backwards, and then no. It's useless to do that. You're fighting a winning battle. You are fighting a losing battle. You should do that.
Yeah. No, that was nice, man. Yeah. Thanks for that, boy. Yeah, definitely. You should have more. There was a viewer said he was going to come on today, but I don't know what happened to him.
It's probably.
But it's all right.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
It's not like whether he's here or not, we lose anything.
No. If he comes, he adds something, but then we'll always the wheel keeps spinning. The wheel keeps spinning. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. All right, thanks all the time, bro. Always appreciate it.
Sharp.
Sure, my friend. Sharp.